Hi, I'm Anna. I'm the Communications Manager at Dyslexia Canada, and today I'm here with Matt Black, former CFL player for the Toronto Argonauts. Matt, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Matt Black. I am a retired CFL player. I was very fortunate to play 10 years for the Toronto Argonauts. I was drafted in 2008 and commenced my CFL career in 2009, retiring at the end of the 2018 season. After my career, I transitioned into a role with the team in the front office. I currently serve as the team's player relations advisor and football operations assistant. So they keep me busy here on the front end now, really just supporting the guys, making sure that they have everything they need. So yeah, it's a little bit of intro of myself. So really excited to be a part of this and looking forward to our day.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And can you tell us some of your CFL highlights so far, or maybe some stand-up moments from your career?
Yeah, there was a lot. Probably the biggest highlights of my career was the two times that I won championships with the team. The first being the 100th Grey Cup in Toronto. That was pretty amazing. I have something here from a little keepsake from that game.
Nice.
So I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but this is one of my Grey Cup rings. And then the second being my second Grey Cup championship that I had an opportunity to win 2017. So those are probably the two career highlights that I had, the two best, two best years. But honestly, I was very fortunate. I had a great career, as I mentioned. I played for 10 years, made a lot of great friends on and off the field. Just probably the most important thing from my career that I remember is just the joy of being able to do something that you love. Dedicating myself to the game and, being able to win championships with my friends, build, great friendships, and represent my city. I'm a Torontonian. I was born and raised here in Toronto, and to be able to put on the Argonauts jersey was something that was very special to me. So just the day-to-day of, living out that dream of being a football player was surreal and very appreciated. That's for sure.
So have you always been super passionate about football, or was there anything else in your childhood that, if it wasn't football, maybe you would have done something else?
Yeah, so actually football was probably the last sport that I fell in love with, to be honest with you. So I was a big hockey player to start out, and baseball. Baseball was actually my first love. I played high-level baseball, got into high school, and started playing higher level hockey, and was introduced to football my grade 9 year in Toronto. I went to high school here, and I was like a bench warmer. I was a scrawny little kid. I didn't get much playing time. There was, I think, about 110, 115 kids on my football team in grade 9. I went to Northern Secondary School, so it was a big football school. And there was a lot of people that were trying out, and I was just kind of another face in the crowd. And, slowly but surely, football just grew on me, and I, excelled, and it, kind of consumed my life. But, outside of football, as I mentioned, I played baseball, played hockey, played rugby, ran track and field, and of course, loved football. And, I try to stay active. So I bike now and try to get out as much as I can. But athletics and sports has always been big in my life. So football just won the day.
Yeah, wow. Well, it definitely sounds like you're a very athletic person, and yeah, have a deep passion for sports. So how did you find balancing, all of those sports alongside your studies throughout school?
That was, at times it was tough. It really was. But, for me, the great thing about sports was, I needed to excel in school to play the sports that I wanted to play, especially in university. We had to maintain a certain GPA to be eligible to play football. So, it became a priority of mine, to make sure that I was doing what I needed to do off the field so I could stay on the field. And I'm really grateful for that. It taught me a lot of resiliency and And, juggling a schedule of a collegiate athlete and, a full-time student is not easy. It's not always fun, but there's ways that you get around it. You find out, where you can have fun, and you find out where you have to make sacrifices. And, there was a lot of sacrifices made, but, it all planned out, and, here we are today.
And so, on top of balancing your sports and your studies, you were also diagnosed with dyslexia. So can you tell us a bit about when you were diagnosed, and how you felt having that diagnosis and how that impacted sports and school?
Yeah. So I was diagnosed in grade 2. So I think about like 6 or 7 years old. I was actually in French immersion at the time. At that time, I was very fluent in French. I picked up the language very quickly. Even my teacher noted to my mom, like, he really absorbs, what we teach him in class. He absorbs it very well. But speaking the language and, speaking English, that was fine for me. When it came to, reading and writing, that's where I struggled. So I think my teachers noticed something and, talked to my mom about it. And then they had me sent for testing. I vaguely remember going to, another room in the school a couple times throughout the day for a couple weeks and doing some testing and, getting me to read different things and, read stuff and talk about what I remembered. And then, my mom talking to me about being diagnosed with dyslexia. And of course, I had no clue what it was and what it meant. But I did know that it was hard for me to read and spell words, where other people in my class, I think it was easier for them, or it appeared easier for them at the time. And then, my mom really just kicked into overdrive at that point. She started to do an immense amount of research, try to find any way possible to help me through this difficult time. And that's an outstanding memory that I will always have, is just, how much dedication and hard work my mom put into, finding out, every possible resource for me, turning over every stone to, help me kind of overcome this thing. And I just remember once I kind of got to an age where I understood what was going on and, why it was difficult for me to read and write, I just remember feeling almost less than sometimes. It was hard. It definitely wasn't easy. It was a struggle. But, when I look back on it now, I'm very grateful for, being dyslexic, because it's taught me so much, about resiliency and hard work. And there's things that I never thought I would ever be able to overcome that I have. And that has given me, a drive and a determination that I think that has allowed me to be successful in things that I probably normally wouldn't have been had I not gone through these struggles at a young age. So, I definitely remember sitting in my classes, though, feeling hopeless and helpless and feeling like this is never going to get easier. This is never going to get better. But it did. It wasn't always, as fast as I wanted it to, but it did. I wouldn't change it for the world.
That's kind of really good advice as well for anyone who's, feeling that way right now, who'll be watching this video, that it does get better, and there are lots of strategies and tools to help you along with that. So obviously within that, you discussed some challenges that you had during school. So aside from sports, was there anything that you enjoyed about school, like any certain subjects or?
Yeah, I was big into gym class, as most young boys were.
Yeah.
That was my favorite class by far. But I also did really love geography. I enjoyed math class as well. School wasn't always fun. I think English class was probably, the bane of my existence for a long time. especially when we got to, units where we were reading out loud and stuff like that. That was really, difficult for me. Or we had to read books, and you had to read, X number of pages before the next day. Those kind of things were difficult for me. But, I just loved being at school with my friends. That was honestly one of the biggest things that I remember from elementary school, just having a boatload of friends and having fun at recess and, looking forward to gym class, whatever it was, 2 times a week, but, I did enjoy school. It wasn't always the greatest cup of tea, but I think that's normal for all kids, right? That not every school is perfect and you're not going to like every subject. And that's normal, right? But it's finding the things you do enjoy, looking forward to those and making the most of them, while you're in those subjects, or you're at recess and you're with your friends at lunch and stuff. So I did enjoy school.
Yeah, it sounds like you're quite a social person, have lots of people around you, and it's a key component for you.
Yes, very much so. I am a social butterfly.
And so aside from your mom, who you've mentioned as your support network, did you have, were your friends like supportive of you, or like certain teachers, or who was kind of in your bubble that helped you through challenges and allowed you to enjoy school more?
Yeah, I was very, very fortunate. My mom was super involved, as I mentioned, in my education and kind of my diagnosis, and then, my IEP moving forward and making sure that I had everything that I needed. But on top of that, I had a really great school that supported me. I went to a school called Market Lane Public School. It's in downtown Toronto in the Esplanade. And I had some really amazing teachers. I don't remember all of their names, but I remember I had a special ed teacher, and he would stay after school with me like every day till like 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and he would just go over stuff with me and help me, invest extra time with me, in classes that I was struggling with. I had a couple special ed teachers that were just really special. They were just amazing people. They, leaving your homeroom to go to that, the special ed classes, can be difficult as a kid, and people ask you, why are you leaving and stuff, and they always made me feel welcomed, and they made learning enjoyable. They were very patient with me. They were just special people. They were really special people, and they were critical in me, I guess, gaining the courage to not quit on myself, and to, continue to just, put one foot in front of the other, and get the small wins, and, different techniques of memorizing words, and, going through things over and over and over again, repeatedly, till they knew that I understood it, and they were, I was comfortable with it. So, I mean, without those people, without that support network, I don't know where I'd be, honestly. I think, it'd be easy to be lost and to have excuses as to why you're lost. But, those people really were influential in my life. And I'm very grateful to have had them, kind of guiding me through that dark time and that difficult time. And I know my mom was very, very grateful. She was involved along the way, and, calling them and talking to them, but just them volunteering their time to stay after school and tutor me at no charge, never asked for a dime, never asked for anything, just wanted to see me, do better. And, I'm grateful, very grateful for those people. And I think it changed who I was as a person. I saw people giving back and not requesting anything in return, just because it was the right thing to do. And I think that has changed me and given me a different outlook on life and how, you should approach it, because, that was the kind of hand that was dealt to me. So, I try to deal that hand back as much as possible as well.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible that they those teachers have had such an impact on not only your life, as a child or whilst you're studying, but now as an adult. That's awesome. And did you ever find it hard to ask for help when you needed it, or did your having that support network, really help with that aspect?
Yes and no. So yes, it was, I think everybody, at times struggles asking for help when they need it. So I don't think that was, there was that was like a huge factor for me. Certain things, were maybe a little more difficult than others. But also, asking my teachers, my special ed teachers and my homeroom teachers and stuff like that, especially in elementary school for help was, they made me feel very comfortable. And, I had a good IEP that, laid out what I needed, and my teachers were all aware of it. So I don't specifically remember having to ask for a lot of help.
Yeah.
It was, the things that I needed, if I needed a test, for instance, read to me, or, I was going to do something dictate my answers and someone else is going to write them out for me. Those kind of things were kind of put on the table. Like they asked me, do you need this time? Do you want this? So I just remember really feeling supported. So I feel very fortunate that I had that support network, because I know there are people who struggle with asking for help, and it can be very difficult when you have to continually ask for help over and over and over again. It can be discouraging and deflating, but I encourage people just to continue it. Ask for the help that you need, advocate for yourself. Parents, definitely advocate for your children and have the discussions with their teachers, and try to take some of that burden off of the child. And I think my mom did an amazing job at that. I think she was very adamant about, these are the accommodations that my son needs. This is, what I want for him. How do we put these in place? And she was proactive in that realm. So I think that really helped me a lot, of not feeling the burden of always having to ask for help and get, special accommodations made. That was kind of just the expectation from the beginning. So really grateful for the support network that I had, to provide that, piece of comfort for me.
And do you know that if your mum knew much about dyslexia before you were diagnosed, or did she just go off and research that and try and become an expert herself to support you?
So I don't think my mom knew too much, honestly. She's a nurse, so she tends to read a lot, and read different studies for work, and educate herself. And I just remember her, diving in the rabbit hole and just like reading every book she could, and spending time, calling people. I went to a doctor in New York City. She took me to a doctor in Long Island, New York, to really get like a super intensive evaluation done, and kind of a diagnosis on me. And they did all these tests. It was like over 2 or 3 days. We were down there and getting all these tests done. And she just, like I said, she left no stone unturned. So I don't think my mom knew a lot about dyslexia prior to me being diagnosed. And this was a time before, the internet was a thing. So it was all really, reading books, and, I don't know how she found them all, but she just did research, endless research, and found, different ways. And I know she talked to a lot of my teachers. She talked to our, head of special ed, and tried to find ways to help me. And, there was a time when it just felt like she was always at school. And that was because she was, dealing with the teachers, trying to find ways to help me through this. So I'm very grateful to my mom. And, it's developed a very special, relationship between us, because I know I was old enough to remember the sacrifices that she made, and to see everything that she went through. And I remember her staying up late at night with me, finishing book reports and projects and things that just, took way longer than they should. But, she was there with me all along the way. So, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to her.
And so dyslexia is usually hereditary. So do you know of anyone else in your family that has dyslexia?
So I believe my brother was also diagnosed with dyslexia, but my mom has a hunch that my dad is dyslexic as well. Um, and she's certain of it. And and it's interesting. He grew up in Jamaica and didn't have access to the same resources that we have here. He struggled in school, and had some tough times, definitely. And so I think that's, my mom has said this, that as well, that it's hereditary, and that I think it was, your father suffered from it as well. Your father suffers from it. So yeah, I think that's where it comes from.
And have you and your dad like talked about it much at all, or compared, or maybe discuss your differences on how you think dyslexia affects you both?
Yes, we have on occasion. I think he's really, for him, he's learned to just deal with it on his own, right? Like, that was the thing. I think when he was growing up, there was nobody that was doing the diagnosis and the testing. He was there along the way, getting, helping to get me through this, and going down to the doctors in New York and stuff like that. So I remember him, kind of, just, they were just both really supportive of finding any way that they could to help me. And I think he understood that it was difficult for me, and he probably could relate a lot to, some of the struggles he had growing up as well. So they were both really supportive, and there was just no excuses as to why we couldn't do things or couldn't get things done, to help, us struggling through dyslexia. My parents just made it happen. So I'm very grateful for their support, which was led by my mom. So I'm, yeah, very, very fortunate, very, very fortunate.
And I'm curious to know, so with dyslexia, do you feel like it does impact you? Well, obviously, of course, it must impact you day to day now, but within your career of like a CFL player, so I know like maybe memorizing all the plays because they all have different names, and I know personally, because I have dyslexia, like I would really struggle with that. Do you
Mhm.
feel like it affected your sporting career at all?
Um, Yes, but in a good way. So memorization has been something that was a tool that was kind of put in my quiver, an arrow that was put in my quiver when I was younger, to say, like, if you're struggling to read these words, these are words that come up a lot, you can memorize them. So and then the struggles of learning stuff and finding out what learning styles work. I'm an auditory visual learner, so if people are talking about something, it's like stuck in my brain. If I'm reading something and trying to read a textbook to pull information out, that's where I'm going to struggle. Visually, if I see like pictures, if I see faces, if I see things on a board, I remember them. Just like, it's like my memory. So I'm fortunate for that, because football, it's audio visual, right? So you see, a coach will put up a play and he'll explain it to you, right? And it's X's and O's and lines, and you understand where you're blitzing or who's covering where. So it kind of works for me. And I don't know if that was just, by chance, or I was drawn to football because of that. But, and then layering on top of that, the memorization, I can just pull up things from my brain, like, oh, this is what the card said in the meeting and on the field, and I just see it again. So for me, I was very fortunate. I was very comfortable with my learning style, and I understood what was needed of me. Especially taking notes, like writing down certain things, that keywords that would bring back memories for me. All of those little things really helped me, I feel, excel and understand the playbook and learn the playbook. Throughout my career, I had, multiple defensive coordinators, and, sometimes every single year we're getting a new one. So there was a lot of turnover, a lot of change, but being able to kind of adapt to those different playing styles and learn those things quickly, I think the later I got in my career actually was really beneficial to me, because I could, make adjustments on the fly and learn things quickly. So for me, it definitely did impact my career outside of, my learning of football, I guess, information, absorbing it, but it was a positive for me. And I think the best part about dyslexia is that it gives you an opportunity to really learn about yourself and really understand what works for you and what doesn't work for you. One thing that I mess up to this day sometimes is numbers. I'll put numbers backwards, especially in like telephone numbers. If it's 1085, I might say 1058 instead of, but then it's 85, and I'll catch myself. So one thing that I did know that I had to do when I was playing is we read out formations. And in my position, part of my role was, saying it's a 32 formation or a 41 formation. But sometimes I'd mix it up and say it's 14. So I'd have to like take my time and, be very intentional to make sure I'm relaying the correct information, because a lot of times on the football field, you're in a noisy, crowded stadium and there's a lot going on. And if you're saying 41 and it's 14, there's a big difference there, right? So people's eyes are going to be in the wrong places, or people are going to be looking at you like, what are you talking about? And it's not 41, or it's 32 instead of 23. So that we can move people around on the field, right? So just had to be very intentional. But I do remember there was times when I said the wrong formation and it didn't even, occur to me. And then, after I got all the guys like, what the heck were you talking about out there, man? So it was 32, but it was 23. And I was like, oh man, sorry, like dyslexia, man. But yeah, it was just, it was the one thing that I do remember from, growing up is that, just the habits, practicing good habits, you can overcome a lot of things. And that's what I try to carry into football. And it wasn't just when I was on the field, it was off the field as well. And practicing those good habits, I think really, spread into my daily life and allowed me to be successful on the football field and have a long career, because I was just consistent at those little things. And that's kind of what separates you at that level is not the big things. Everybody can run, jump, and play and is athletic and strong and fast. It's just who can do the right things at the right times. And, dyslexia really taught me just to be patient and, good habits and slowly stack one foot in front of the other, and then you'll get there. It's so it was good. It was I'm grateful for it, and it's taught me a lot, that's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. Definitely sounds like you've really like learned to understand yourself and how you work, and I guess appreciated it as well, and not just focusing on like the negatives it can bring, but really utilizing those positives. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
in university, you majored in communications and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So not many numbers involved in there, so that's that's good. So how did you find your major for that, and I guess like your dyslexia as well within there.
So you know what? The one thing about university that I really enjoyed was the turnaround time of work. There was a longer turnaround time between work when it was due. So um, I would just start stuff early and make sure go through it, edit it 2-3 times and take my time. When I take my time and I have an abundance of time to do things, I work better. When things are, I need to pump things out quickly, that's where I can struggle. So trying to just find ways to, like you said, accommodate to your needs. So we got assignments that were due in a week. I would just start them day one and do a little bit, piece by piece, and slowly, just bite off a small piece at a time. And then by the time it was due, I had already done it, pretty much all. Maybe it was just had to get edited. So I would, bring it to a counselor and then, just get them to proofread it or something. And then, but I was comfortable with the work. You know, in high school, I remember sometimes things, you know, quick turnarounds due the next day or, you know, the day after, and you also have other work going on. And it was just, you know, it could be difficult. So, you know, for me, even now, I try to start, you know, in my current role with the Toronto Argus, I try to start work early as much as I can to get ahead of the curve. So that the unexpected things that can come up, I can actually devote my time and attention to that, and not have, you know, 6 or 7 things on the go, because that's when things can get overwhelming for me, and, you know, the workflow can slow down. So, so yeah, really, I enjoyed university a lot more than high school from that perspective, because, you know, professors kind of, you know, you get 3 weeks, but you have to do a big project, right? So if you leave it to the last day, it's tough. But if you start week 1, you know, you can kind of get ahead of the curve and just, you know, do 2 or 3 pages a day. And by the time you're, you know, done, you have your 20, 30 page project, and it wasn't that hard.
And so it sounds like you're quite an organized person as well, to, you know, be able to, yeah, I guess give yourself like time frames and plan ahead for projects. Would you say you're quite organized?
Yes, I try to be. It's something that I think dyslexia has kind of honed into me. I like things to be orderly and organized, and, you know, kind of know what to expect, so that I can, you know, can be prepared for it. And that was something that I know for a fact has come directly from, you know, dealing and coping with dyslexia, is just feeling unprepared and put on the spot at times. So I really tried to make sure that I can prepare as best as I can. You know, obviously things come up unexpectedly, and that happens, right? But when I personally feel, when I've done my due diligence and taken care of the things that I can take care of, I feel it's easier for me to deal with the unexpected, as opposed to having, you know, a huge laundry list of things that's on your list, and then you're just continually adding to the top. So I try to be proactive in my work and get things done as soon as I can, so that things are organized and neat, and try to stay as organized as I can at home, so I'm not, um, uh, you know, scrambling for stuff. But I definitely think that is a trait that has kind of been bred into me from dealing with dyslexia, is trying to get things, you know, squared away so I can focus on what I need to focus on.
Yeah, we definitely sound quite similar in that way. I love organization, and I think a
Yeah.
bit of me was born with it because I used to, when I was younger, like tidy away all my toys and things. But
Wow,
I definitely
that's
think
amazing.
I was the best kid. But yeah, I agree. Like in school, I remember one of my like support teachers. She, I remember exactly her bringing in like a folder with what they call it, the dividers, and teaching me how to, you know, like separate work and organize it and things like that. And then I just took that into everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, organized
Yeah,
people.
it helps for me. It helps things feel less overwhelming, because, you know, these things are taken care of. You know, these are the things that's outstanding, and you can just pick one and go through it and put it away. You know, when I sit at the table and there's 100 binders open, it's like, where do you even start, right? So, yeah, that for me has been successful so far.
Yeah. So if you could go back in time and tell your younger self a piece of advice, what do you think it would be?
It's gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay. I remember, a lot of times thinking, you know, I'm never going to learn to read or write. I'm never going to go to university. I'm never going to graduate high school. I'm never going to get past this subject. I'm never going to get through this test. And it's going to be okay. It's all going to work out. It's all going to be okay. It might take a little extra work. It might take a little extra time, but you'll get there. That's what I would encourage myself to just believe and remember, because it's easy to forget sometimes.
That's really, really great advice. And why did you decide to become a Dyslexia Canada ambassador?
As I alluded to before, you know, I was very fortunate. I had a great support system. A lot of people gave back and helped me. And and that's what I want to do, with this role as being an ambassador for Dyslexia Canada. I want to, if there's one kid out there that listens to my story, can find something motivational from it, and it helps them overcome an obstacle in their life, then, I think my time has been well spent. I think everybody needs, there's a time and place when everybody needs a helping hand and needs, some words of encouragement. And just to see somebody who, looks like them, has similar interests like them, and has gone through something similar to them, and know that, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through it. These are some of the things that I did to help. Maybe some of them will help you. Maybe all of them will help you. Maybe none of them will help you. But just even to hear that you're going to be okay, that you can have dyslexia, it's not a life sentence, that, your life is doomed and you can't do amazing, great things. I remember my mom at one point, telling me all these amazing, people that were presidents and prime ministers and, all these famous people, and have done, actors and athletes and doctors and lawyers, and all these people have dyslexia. It doesn't mean that your life is over. It just means that you have to do things a little differently. And I think that's important, really important for kids to hear, and people struggling with dyslexia to know that, you're not the first person to ever be diagnosed with dyslexia, and you're not going to be the last. But there are ways to overcome it. There are ways to cope with it. There are ways to deal with it. And you can be as successful as anyone. And actually, I think it's easier to be successful with dyslexia, because when you're young and you're diagnosed with dyslexia, there's like a mountain dropped right in front of you, right? And you have no way of understanding how you're going to get around that mountain. And then you start climbing it, right? And then you get to a point where you can see the top. And then you get to a point where you realize, like, wow, I know what I need to do to be successful. I know what I need to do to, overcome, my challenges. And then it's kind of, you're just riding the wave down for forever kind of thing. You're always on that mountain. You're always dealing with dyslexia, but you know what you need to do to be successful. And when I look back, those lessons that I learned at a very young age, I 100% credit with the length of the career that I had, right? Just being dedicated, being, not being scared of the unknown, right? Understanding that there's always solution for a problem. Realizing that I'm always going to have to work twice as hard as everyone else around me. That started in the classroom. That didn't start on the football field. But I took that mentality from the classroom to the football field. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest. But, I always believe that, no one can outwork me. And that is the thing that I think allowed me to be successful on the field, and is going to create success for me off the field, right? Is my work ethic. It's not always being the smartest person in the room, that's going to get you the job, or it's going to get you the promotion. Sometimes it's just your work ethic, how hard you're willing to work, if you're willing to be dedicated and stay late, show up early. Those things separate people. And that's what separated me on the football field. And that's what I believe is going to separate me in life. So that's what, got me through dyslexia, was showing up early and staying late and just doing extra work. And, if I can share that message, and I can, teach that to somebody else, and someone can take that and find success in their struggles with dyslexia and their journey and coping with it, then, that's my goal in being an ambassador here, is just to, spread that message, work hard, and, you'll get there.
Yeah, I really love that message, especially now in like this day and age type thing where, we have social media and, an abundance of like within the online world of looking at other people and their success and what they're doing. So I love how your advice is to, I guess, look away from that and look in yourself, find your strengths and your key, key things that are going to make you strive forward, and really focus on those. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point that you bring up, Anna. You got to focus on yourself, right? And, you can look at other people for inspiration, but then you have to, how does it apply to me, right? Everyone's story is different. My struggle is different than yours, which is different than every other person's. But there's something in everyone's story that you might, one little piece that you could take from their story and just, oh, well, I can apply this. I can show up to work 20 minutes earlier, or I can show up to school, 30 minutes earlier and talk to my teacher about, this project and the questions that I have. And then just help yourself in some way, shape, or form by just taking little bits and pieces from the people around you and applying them to your own life and making, yourself more efficient, more, more able to deal with, your struggle with dyslexia. Because some people, they have dyslexia and their struggles are completely opposite of mine. And the things that I've gone through aren't going to help them, but that's fine. There's someone out there that is going to be able to help them in their struggle. So I really think that, that's a great point of, looking outside, but also looking internally.
And I had something to ask you, but I've completely forgotten what it is. I'm just so zoned into your words of wisdom here. So just to wrap up here, I guess, because it's been absolutely great speaking to you. We've definitely got lots of wise words, as I said, lots of advice. It's been great getting to know you better as well. So when I was doing some research prior to this interview, I came across your Wikipedia page. So I was wondering if you knew about it. Have you been on it? How accurate is it?
I honestly, I know there's a Wikipedia page on me. I haven't gone and read it anytime recently. I don't know how accurate. I'd have to give it a good read, but I know that the last time I was on it, the picture was really old. I think it was from my rookie year and stuff like that. So I look like a baby on there, but yeah, I do know I have one. I haven't dove down into it in quite some time, but yeah, it is, I guess one of the perks of being a football player for a while is, I had a Wikipedia page made on me.
So your claim to fame. You know you made it when you've got a wiki page.
Exactly.
Hey, I just remembered my question that I was going to ask you earlier. So because we were talking about you were saying about taking inspiration from those people and really using it yourself. Mm-hmm. Have you got anyone, and maybe they have Wikipedia pages, who really inspires you, and you take elements from their success and apply it to yourself?
Honestly, there's probably too many to name. I try to take little bits and pieces from, anywhere that inspires me. Honestly, I love quotes, inspirational quotes. One that just pops to my mind. There's one from Bruce Lee. It's be like water, be able to take whatever shape, of whatever glass it is in. It's in a round glass, if it's in a tall glass or a short glass, be malleable. I think that's something that's important, being flexible. It's not always easy, but I think it's important in life. There's another one that's, I forget who it is by, but it's an African saying. It's Ubuntu, and it means I am because you are. So, be the change, be the inspiration that people need, that you need, right? Because there's always somebody watching. People are great because of the people that have impacted their lives, right? The influences that they've had, the people that have been around them have given them the things that they need to be great and to be inspirational and to, overcome adversity. And then they have something inside of them that's special. We all have, different gifts and different talents and different traits. So just really try to be the inspiration that people, that you would need, struggling or going through anything in life, good, bad, or indifferent. I think that is very important, just being a good human. So, you know, I try to gain, you know, take stuff from everywhere that I can. I've been so fortunate. I've had a myriad of great coaches that have given me inspiration all along the way in my journey in different parts of, you know, my game in high school, in college, and again, you know, as a professional athlete, you know, trainers, just you name it, you know, just trying to find inspiration from everywhere around you. And it's around us. It really is around us, right? And I think it's the lens in which we look at the world in. You know, even today, you know, working and playing with the guys that I played with in my career, and then working, you know, at MLSE and with the Toronto Argonauts now, you know, just seeing people with so much dedication and just the unsung heroes, just watching them and doing, you know, the little things that they do. And I think some of that is just watching consistency and seeing it pay off, you know, and that is something that has been a huge staple for me, is just trying to be consistent. So I consistently try to, you know, just watch the people around me and take inspiration on a daily basis. So
Yeah. So a quote comes to mind that I've like seen. I have no idea who said it. I think you get used a lot, but it's like, be the change you wish to see in the world. Yeah, that's
yeah,
like definitely one of my favorite quotes that I have in my
yeah,
head quite a lot.
yeah. I fully agree with that. Fully agree with that. Starts and ends with you.
Yeah. Perfect. And I guess my final question for you today is, so for the people watching this video that want to learn more about you, or like follow your journey, where could they find you on like social media, or if you've got a website, things like that?
Awesome. Yeah. So on social media, I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram as well. So on Twitter, I am Matt Black, MattBlack, the number 39. And then on Instagram, I am MD Black, number 39. So yeah, follow me on social media, check me out. Not as active as I used to be, but still on there, and you know, still fairly active. But yeah, I love it. So interact with people all the time. Feel free to reach out and give me a follow, and I'll follow you back.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Matt. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And we'll, yeah, excited to work with you some more and learn more about you as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time today, and looking forward to working with Dyslexia Canada. And, you know, hopefully everyone watching today got something from this, and I'll see you guys all very soon.